Returning to the race for the White House, all eyes are fixed on the next big contest in the state of New York. A new poll from Fox News shows Republican Donald Trump is leading his rivals there by quite a significant margin. Trump has 54% of support among likely primary voters. Ohio Governor John Kasich has 22%, and Ted Cruz trails them both with just 15%. Meanwhile, among Democratic voters, Hillary Clinton leads the way. She nabbed 53% of the likely voters in that poll, compared with Bernie Sanders at 37%. Well, let's get some perspective on the Republican fight for the delegates. CNN's Jeremy Diamond joins us from New York. Great to have you with us again. Now, Trump's new campaign manager said some pretty interesting things. He's claiming that...
Convention manager. I made the same mistake earlier, too.
Campaign manager.
Right.
He claims that Ted Cruz is using Gestapo tactics to help with his delegate hunt. Just explain exactly what he said.
Well, those were basically his words, calling them Gestapo tactics. You know, this is the man who's supposed to come in and be the adult in the room of the Trump campaign and kind of start changing its strategy. But here he is also using that kind of similar inflammatory rhetoric that we've come to know from the Trump campaign. But what he's referring to is kind of the fact that the Trump campaign is now playing catch up and really behind as far as the delegate strategizing is concerned. You know, the Cruz campaign has been organized on this front for a long time now. They've seen this contested convention coming for a while it seems like the Trump campaign has only recently shifted to that kind of a strategy. So he is accusing the Cruz campaign of essentially using scorched earth tactics or Gestapo tactics, as he called them, and the Cruz campaign, of course, saying that that's ridiculous and that simply the Trump campaign is saying that because it's losing that game.
And speaking of a contested convention, Cruz does think it's the best avenue for him to get into the White House. Why is he so confident that if he gets the chance to go to a contested convention, that he will secure the nomination?
Well, I think that right now, Ted Cruz kind of seems like the more palatable alternative to Donald Trump and the most viable as far as the Republican establishment is concerned, which, of course, in and of itself is a pretty shocking statement, at least to people, you know, if you spoke to people about this a year ago. You know, Ted Cruz has also, you know, been very much anti-establishment, very much ruffling feathers in Washington. But, you know, the way it stands now, he has the second most number of delegates after Donald Trump. And he's quickly racking up the support of these unpledged delegates, those who can vote essentially based upon whoever they prefer. And he's also going to be able to secure the support of a lot of these delegates who, you know, may be bound on the first round of voting, but on the second round of voting at a contested convention could vote for whoever they want. So Cruz is kind of the closest one there and the most palatable alternative, at least compared to Donald Trump, to many of these, you know, Washington Republicans.
The best of two options they weren't really hoping to have at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Jeremy Diamond, great to have you with us. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
US President Barack Obama is defending his former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. The Democratic frontrunner has been embroiled in investigations into whether she improperly sent or received classified emails. Here's what Mr. Obama had to say on Fox News on Sunday.
I continue to believe that she has not jeopardized America's national security. Now, what I've also said is that, and she's acknowledged, that there's a carelessness in terms of managing emails that she has owned and she recognizes. But I also think it is important to keep this in perspective. This is somebody who has served her country for 4 years as Secretary of State and did an outstanding job, and no one has suggested that in some ways, as a consequence of how she handled emails, that detracted from her excellent ability to carry out her duties.
The Democratic presidential candidates are scheduled to debate this week right here on CNN in the New York City borough of Brooklyn. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders each tout their ties to the Big Apple, but some in the concrete jungle say neither really knows what life is like there. CNN correspondent Sarah Gammon reports.
From Vermont.
Bernie with his undeniable Brooklyn accent.
But I am very proud that I was born here in New York City.
And Hillary, the former New York senator, parking her campaign headquarters here.
So I am thrilled to have a chance to be here in Brooklyn.
Battling it out over who has stronger New York ties.
Born in Illinois, that's not a crime.
I love New York.
But a true Brooklynite.
Good morning, how are you?
Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams says neither of the candidates are in touch with real issues that some New Yorkers face.
A real New Yorker is willing to represent the full parts of New York. Communities like Brownsville, they have been left behind.
A lifelong Democrat, Adams says he hasn't endorsed either candidate and won't be attending the debate on Thursday, being held in his borough at the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Why are we focusing on places that is a success story? Why not go to the heart of areas that needs to be successful? Brownsville is that.
Brownsville is one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in New York City. The crime rate is above 40%. More than a third of people live in poverty. It has the highest concentrated public housing in the city, a breeding ground for gang violence. It's here we met Adams, in front of an elementary school where a mother of 12 was shot and killed, caught in the crossfire of gang warfare.
She covered the body of her children, and she was shot and killed. And it's really representative of the Brownsvilles across America.
The debate should be in Brownsville.
His message is resonating with the people here.
And not be in a sterilized environment of downtown where everything is fine. It should be in the communities that have been ignored and denied for so many years.
Gene Barkley says he was once into drugs and a life on the street in Brownsville. Life is hard here, and he wants the candidates to see that.
If the candidates were to come to Brownsville, what would you want them to hear from the people who live here?
To see if they can stop the shooting and the crimes, number one. If that was stopped, a whole lot of other things would stop.
With the April 19th primary approaching, Clinton and Sanders have been crisscrossing the city all weekend, vying for the state's 291 Democratic delegates. Clinton stopping at Brooklyn landmarks like the famed Junior's Diner, a favorite on the campaign trail. Sanders holding a rally in front of his childhood home, trying to close the gap.
You don't think they're trying hard enough here?
No, they're not. No, they're not. I know they're going to the boardwalk. They're walking through Harlem. They're sitting in the black church. Those are traditional things. They cannot be afraid to come to Brownsville, sit down in a public housing, have a town hall right here, have a debate right here. That's the right statement.
Sarah Ganem, CNN, Brooklyn.